Well, hello and welcome to the Dare Differentiate Show live. Whether you're tuning in live or watching the replay, I am so delighted that you're here. The purpose of this show is to help you rise up, raise your standards, and reach the next level. Through every week of live trainings and guest interviews, my goal is to help you gain clarity, courage, and confidence so that you can own your greatness and become the best version of you. So I'm curious to know, where are you tuning in from? And are you watching it from LinkedIn or YouTube? Comment in the chat room. I would love to see you and hear you as well. I am super pumped for today's first guest of 2021. Jennifer Brick is going to be here to talk to me about how not to ghost your goals and to make your dreams come true. It's going to be on fire today. So type in the chat room, let me know, what are your goals for the year? Or if you're not sure yet, let us know as well. Okay. So a little bit about me. I'm Diana YK Chan. I'm a former recruiter turned career coach, speaker, and trainer at My Market Ability. I help ambitious professionals and executives to find a meaningful career, navigate change, and differentiate as top talent to get hired and earn more. I'm recognized as one of the top job search experts to follow on LinkedIn. If we're not connected yet, make sure to follow me or send me a message. So some of my recent highlights this week, super pumped with the new year. Some of my clients have some big wins already. One of my clients just told me that he received a sales manager role in tech sales. And then I have another client just messaged me today that she's getting her dream offer in SAP as well, making 5 figures more. And another client of mine just aced her life story interview with Shopify. So things are happening. So I really want to send you all the best if you are looking for a new job there. All right, so let me just make sure that you guys can hear me. Yes, awesome. All right, so I see some of you in London, Toronto, Calgary, St. Louis metro area. Welcome, Waterloo. Amazing. Welcome, LA. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, tell us what's your what's one of your goals for this year here. Okay, so here's what to expect. In about a minute, I'm going to have Jennifer come on live with me, and I really want to encourage you to really show us your love and support and appreciation. I'm all about raising that vibrational energy. So I want you to also start even typing in "Go Jennifer," hashtag "Go Jennifer." She's already backstage. She can see this. So raise that energy there. Here's what we're going to do is we're going to start off with some rapid fire questions to get to know her. And then we're going to move into a little bit of her career journey. And then we're going to go into the main topic on how to make your dreams come true. Okay. And if you are looking to catch the replay, they will be available as well. Just come on over to my YouTube channel to watch your replay. I will also add some of the timestamps later on as well. And feel free throughout. I want to encourage you to click like and comment anytime. We love to see the engagement. Share your thoughts, your key learnings, ask us questions as well. We're going to be answering your questions throughout there. Okay. And something I like to do on the show here is if there's anything that resonates with you, type in either a quotation mark of the quote of what you learn or a hashtag, or add in any of your insights as well. We will like to engage with you there. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right. See, so many of you here already are there. Okay. So let me introduce you a little bit about Jennifer. So Jennifer Brick, she helps ambitious professionals, ambitious aspiring leaders elevate and accelerate their careers. After more than a decade in tech, mostly in senior and executive roles, she discovered her passion for helping others rise and left her corporate job to dedicate her full-time focus on helping others have their career glow up. I'm so excited to have her start the show with me. I met her just over a month ago through the Career Relaunch Summit. That was our mutual friend, Dr. John Tam, who introduced us. And since then, even though we have not spoke live, today's our first time talking live, that I love her energy and her content and just her awesomeness. So I know we're gonna have a lot of fun today. All right, guys, are you guys ready? Let's say "Go Jennifer" and give me this clapping emoji. All right, we're gonna welcome her on stage here. Hi, Jennifer.
Hey.
Welcome to the Dare Differentiate Show.
I love that your chat is so lit already. Everyone is so present.
It is, isn't it? I love it. Isn't that great energy? I love this.
No, such good vibes coming in the chat. I absolutely love it.
I love it. So how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you today?
That's good.
How's everyone?
Oh, I'm great. Let me just see the chat here. Yes, they're "Go Jennifer," so excited. I'm looking at the chat room, the captions here, and talking to you. So my brain is
all of the places.
All over the places. Oh my God, Monica's like, go Jennifer, she's the best. I love it.
Monica is awesome.
Amazing, amazing. So thank you so much for kicking off the show with me today. And so what we're going to do is let's just kick off some rapid fire questions for us to get to know you.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what's one thing most people don't know about you?
So this one is actually super random. Most people don't know I'm Canadian. I've been in New York City it's almost 10 years that I've been here, and everyone just assumes that I'm American because I'm here, and I guess I sound American enough and I look American enough. So I've known people for years who have gone like a exorbitant amount of time without realizing that I am actually from Canada, which I find to be kind of funny.
Awesome. Awesome. And what are you most excited about for 2021?
2021, I'm excited because, I mean, obviously there's still a lot of stuff going on in the world, but I feel like we've gotten our footing in terms of knowing that we shouldn't expect anything. And that's like allowing us to approach things in a way more effective way. And I mean, a little light at the end of the tunnel for everything that has been going on as well.
Yeah, totally. Right. It's all about setting our own intentions and what we want to put out there. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
What fulfills you? What gives you joy?
Time with my people. Like I love hanging out with my family. I'm like such a mom. Just time with my husband, time with my kids. Like I honestly, I can't get enough of them. Though I can get enough of them. I did learn in isolation. So there is limits to that, but I do like to get time with them. And I am just someone who is really energized by learning, and I'm just super curious about people in general and how people function and think and succeed. So I'm really into like, I guess, psychology.
Yeah, I can tell with the videos that you share. I'm just curious, like, how's a 90-day video challenge going for you?
It's actually, I thought it was going to be way more difficult than it is. So if anyone isn't following me on LinkedIn, I'm doing a 90 videos in 90 days challenge. So it's a video every single day. And my friend AJ was doing it. And then Daniel, another person I follow, started another challenge. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to jump in because it sounds like a little bit of fun. And the thing that's actually been really interesting for me is that I was doing a lot of text posts on LinkedIn, but as you guys will come to see hanging out with me and Diana today, is that the way that I am doesn't translate into text very well, no matter how abusive I am towards emojis. So I really like video because it's an actual conversation, and you can see when I'm excited, you can see when I'm sarcastic, because that's like 90% of my time. And it's just like, I feel like it's so much more engaging in that like we get to know each other so much when it's an actual, like, I'm talking to you and you can talk back to me kind of thing.
Totally. I just have a quick shout out. My best friend Seema, all the way from the Netherlands, is on as well. It's so great to see her that she's on. That's amazing. But so you know what's great? I wanted to acknowledge about your videos is I really feel your authenticity, your presence, your just positive vibes. And even though this is our first time actually talking, I feel like I've known you for years already. I just feel like I've already known you for years because of through your videos and content. So this is a power of like LinkedIn and like videos and how you can really connect now with anyone in the world there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for anyone looking to do it, highly recommend. I know it's scary. There's a lot of fears of being seen, but baby steps there, right? So I want to acknowledge you for doing that right now, the 90-day challenge. I'm curious to know, why did you start your business in coaching?
So it's one of those where I started my career knowing I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what company I wanted to start. And even when I went to start it, it took me a really long time. Because the other thing that I always loved doing and I always wanted to do was career coaching. Like from a very young age, like I was always the one that my friends like in school would come and ask for resume help. I would help people prep for interviews. I was really good at getting jobs. So I kind of ended up helping people do the same. And then when I got into a leadership role, I started mentoring people in terms of how to actually like grow their career and raise their visibility and all that kind of stuff. And I knew I wanted to do that kind of at the sunset of my career, but it never clicked on me that I could start a business that did that. Like there's a lot of points in my career where like I love doing the thing, but I didn't realize that it could actually be a job.
Wow.
So that's kind of, I got to the point that I was this is going to sound like way meaner than it is, but I had been working in startups for a long time at the point that I was kind of feeling over my job.
Yeah.
I was kind of sick of just making money for rich white dudes. And I was like, I built multiple successful P&Ls and multiple businesses, and I really just wanted to go and do it for myself. I felt like I was at a point where I could, and having a boss started to feel like something that wasn't a really good fit for me.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like you're listening to your heart. And I'm curious to know, like, from the audience here, like any of you looking to, make a pivot or to start a business, maybe if you could just type in that like #pivot or #business, would love to hear from you guys. If that's something that you're thinking of in 2021 there. So I feel like this year is going to be big. A lot of that pivot stories. I've been talking to a lot of people, whether it's pivoting to their own thing or different career, different industry. I've been hearing a lot of those stories this year there. So why don't we get into a little bit more in terms of your career journey? How did you break into tech sales or customer success? I'd love to hear that journey. And by the way, like for those who don't know, you come from like a non-traditional background, like that you completed your degree in criminology.
Yes.
So really curious how you break into tech sales and the fact that you moved from Vancouver to New York in a very competitive space as well.
Yeah, so my career story is so weird. I kind of went in reverse of what most people did. So I think I was about 6 years old, and I decided I was going to be a lawyer, and specifically a criminal defense lawyer. And that was just my reality for 18 years. I was going to be a lawyer. So that's the criminology degree. It made sense. I'm going to be a criminal defense lawyer. I might as well learn about laws, right? And I got to the point where I wrote my LSAT. I had my law school applications in, and I was taking a gap year to live in Dublin before I went to school, and just to kind of have a break, because I took a really long time to do my bachelor's degree as well. And I got there and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be a lawyer. Like I had been working in a law firm, and there was really great things about it, but it also, criminal defense law is hard, and it can make you very, very jaded. And I didn't want to be that jaded person. Like I wanted to be the happy person, not the jaded but happy person, if that makes any sense. So I ended up just kind of ghosting my goals. Like that was my biggest goal ghost. And I've never regretted not doing it for a minute. Mm-hmm. But then I had this degree, and I started that journey of, okay, but now what am I going to do? So I did like the career walkabout for a little while. So I luckily got a job in a small company that let me try out a whole bunch of different things. So I came on to help with like collections practices for their accounts receivable. I ended up bookkeeping. I ended up working as a network admin, because I had a bunch of different jobs in university. Like I was a job hopper that an interviewer actually asked why I couldn't hold a job. Like I was that person. So this was something that was natural to me, but I knew that job wasn't forever. And I knew I wanted to work in tech. My sister was working in tech. I had a few friends that had gone to work in tech, and it just seemed like it was an interesting industry. It was a growing industry, and I was interested in it. So I was like, okay, how do I start to get into here? Because breaking into a new industry is like, it feels really hard. And if anyone has been there, like, let me know. It feels super challenging until you've actually done the thing, right? So I ended up getting my first step into it was in a IT recruiting company. And I joined as an account executive. So I was basically an account executive we all did recruiting. Like they were very like, this is a recruiting business. Everyone is a recruiter. And I was out there trying to get new business when the 2008 recession hit.
Yeah,
and
I remember that time.
all of the layoffs started, and the clients that I was trying to hire for were all of a sudden asking me to like, do you know any opportunities for me? But it solidified for me that tech was the right place, because I got to work closely with so many different companies in the sector. And just, I loved the culture. I loved the challenges. I loved the speed, And I ended up, the early job that I had where I kind of did the exploration and they let me wear a lot of hats. One of my bosses was really like, she's still a mentor to me. Her name's Arlene. And one of the things I did was I did a lot of training materials for the accounting system and for the POS to train guys that worked in a glass shop that didn't know how to use a computer, how to use a computer. And she's like, this is really good. Why aren't you doing that? So I left the recruiting company because sales was not for me. Like I liked a lot of things about sales, but I did not love having a quota over my head every quarter. I did not like having the metrics. And obviously it was a hard economy to be doing it in. So I was like, I'm going to just quit. And I have no idea what I'm doing now. I'm just going to trust the universe that this is going to work out. And I ended up finding myself drawn to training roles kind of again and again and again. So that actually ended up being my next step. And it was actually my sister was working at a company that was hiring. So she gave me a referral and I ended up getting a job offer. So it was really nice to like have, someone close to me helping me open that door. And I was there for 2.5 years before I moved to New York. And then when I moved to New York, I didn't have work authorization. I had to move here and be living here in order to apply for work authorization, which would take several months. And so I had to quit the job and start just like completely brand new city, new country, no real network outside of like my husband and his colleagues because he was new here as well.
Yeah.
Like he moved a couple of months before I did. So it was a complete restart, but I'm so glad that I did it. And having the industry experience at that point helped. And then having expertise doing something that I did also really helped.
Yeah. What were those challenges that you faced, like moving from Vancouver to New York? Because what I'm hearing here, there's a few things. Is one, you made a big change, right? You made a change to tech sales, but then realized it wasn't really for you, but then you still want to be in tech, right? And move into customer success. And then you decide to move to a new country where you had a zero network. And then you had this visa issue. And then at the same time, like you had a bit of a gap too, right? An employment gap as well. So tell us, like the audience, I know a lot of people can relate to this, like, who have been struggling finding jobs, like walk us through those challenges and how did you deal with those challenges to essentially break in to get it from the door, which follows my next question, like how you really rise up to an executive level in 3 years as well.
Yeah. So has anyone that's sitting here, like, have you guys had to do a job search in a new country? Because if you have, you're totally going to relate. But it is hard to get your first job in a new country. Even though US and Canada are like in so many different ways, there are still cultural differences. And even when you're in between jobs, some employers will try to exploit that as well. And then there's the whole advantage of having a job when you're looking for a job, or at least the perception of it, because I kind of think that's a little bit of a bogus thing. So that was really hard because in Vancouver, I knew enough people that if I wanted a new job, people knew me, so they would talk to me about opportunities, or I can get an introduction. Here, it was just like, I have to get through by applying. And is there any other way? In the meantime, my husband is a Googler, so he's just getting like inboxes from recruiters with job offers. And I'm like, but why? I'm applying. What is wrong with this picture? Because he's not replying. I'm like, and it was at that point I was like, I never want to be in a position that I have to apply for a job again. So one thing that I had done when I was in Vancouver, so after tech sales, I had moved into training, so software training and certifications, and I was really good at it. And I learned a lot about it. And I know like a lot of trainers just kind of do it. But I was like, okay, like, again, like I'm really interested in the psychology of things. So I got into like, okay, how do adults actually learn? How can I structure this? So I learned quite a bit. And that was something that I knew would help me stand out. So I was like, how can I actually start to show people who haven't seen what I can do, what I do? And that was when I discovered Twitter. And the training community, the L&D community on Twitter, it still is very, very active and very engaged. So I just started curating content, sharing my thoughts, sharing ideas, writing blog posts, and doing things that I can do to leave breadcrumbs for people so that I could put that link onto my resume. And if someone was interested, they could follow the jump. So that was one of the things that I did, because in the time that I wasn't even allowed to apply for a job, that was the only thing that I could do, was to make sure that I was branding myself so that I was ready to step into an opportunity and maybe someone would find me like they were finding my husband. I could be a little bit less jealous.
I'm just going to get some like learning here. So nuggets, what I'm hearing, guys, is there's part is that you it's the personal branding, right? Hashtag personal branding. And then the other is what you did is the visibility by putting yourself out there so that people know that you exist, that you had some great skills to offer, right? So just putting yourself out there, that visibility and just showcasing more of who you are. There, that is key. So we'd love for you guys to type that in as well. Personal branding, visibility as well. It is so key. This is something I've been talking a lot about this year, or the last year as well. Is really double down.
Let's rant about this branding for a while then, because this I feel like it's so undervalued. And obviously now, like this is going back 10 years. Now it's all on LinkedIn. And I feel like people start to think about their brand when they're looking for a job. But your personal brand matters when you have a job. It's going to get you opportunities to be assigned to the projects that you want, promotions. It's going to make you more visible to the leaders in your organization, especially if you're connected and sharing your expertise on a regular basis. And if you're not totally happy, or because things aren't necessarily stable and you want to have a plan B, being present and being the expert is going to bring you opportunities. It's going to magnetize opportunities to you.
Absolutely. Oh, you just spoke the formula that I always talk about. It's to get more opportunities. You have to increase your marketability, right? Which is the branding. You need to increase the visibility, which is putting yourself out there on social media, the presence, and then the credibility, which is to be seen as an expert or top talent. That is key. And then the last one that I added on last year is increase your likability, which is the soft skills, the relationship building skills. Absolutely. That's what's going to help you get more opportunities. So I love that. Like it is so important with personal branding. It's like knowing, what you want to be known for.
Absolutely. And everyone has a personal brand.
Everyone has your personal brand. So I'm curious,
you're either
guys,
intentional about it or you're not.
Yeah. So I'm curious to hear from the audience here, since we're talking about personal branding, I hear what's your reputation? Personal branding is about what you're known for. Just, share with us, what's your reputation? Either share with us a word or a sentence, like to call it a soundbite of, how your colleagues describe you at work. Like, what's that brand of yours? Share that, because to me, this ties into your unique value proposition, your unique value. Yeah. So I'm curious to know if you know what your unique value is when you're conveying this to a potential employer or that's someone that you are networking with. Yeah. Okay? So share that with us. We'll love to see that there. Okay?
The way I love to think about it is, even if you don't know what they're saying yet, what do you want them to say?
Yes. What do you want them to say? Right. And then that's like, who are you becoming? Right. What do you want them to say? So who do you need to be to be perceived like that as well?
Yeah. And that, when we get to the goals part, this is something that you can also keep in mind, because then you can set goals about how do I want to be perceived? And then you can structure, okay, how can I actually show up that way so that when I'm not in the room, that's exactly what someone's saying about me.
Totally. I'm actually doing like a rebrand right now I'm celebrating 10 years of my business. So over the weekend, I actually sat down and I wrote down a list of the words of who I am and want to be known for. And I typed it all out and I turned it into a word cloud. Ooh. So that's an exercise you guys can do. Like just type out a bunch of words, go Google like a free word cloud software just to type it in, and you'll get this word cloud, and you can pick your brand colors as well. And I just put it into a PowerPoint slide. I'm like, this is my new brand. This is my new direction of where I'm heading. And that was a very fun exercise.
Oh, you can even make it the background on your phone. So when you open your phone, it's that visual reminder. So you're getting a subconscious impression.
Yes. Actually, you just reminded me, a really dear friend of mine on her 50th birthday, her husband got her closest friends to put together these words that describe her. Yeah. And her husband printed out a frame of all these words that describe her, and that she puts it up on a wall.
Oh, that's so nice. I love that idea.
Yeah. So you guys could do something like that, right? Awesome. Let me see. What do we have here? We have what people are known for. What do you want to be known for? Cheerleader, accomplished, innovative, growth leader, and coach, right? Awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. Just Google word cloud. You'll see a bunch of them in there. Yeah, you'll see that. Awesome. So let's move on to the next question, shall we?
Cool.
So the question, and we'll go into the goals soon here, is how did you go from entry level to the executive level? This is the advancement story here. Like, who did you have to become, or what did you have to do to be awesome, to really showcase your potential as a leader, as a manager?
Yeah. So there was a few things. So I think first of all, in that break time, like getting the brand really helped me get into a really good place. And I was intentional. Like I actually said no to a job offer that I knew was the wrong opportunity and was not gonna bring me where I wanted to go. Not that I necessarily thought that I wanted to grow that much in my career even at that point. It took me a while to figure that one out too. But I was really intentional about, okay, like I want to work for a boss that I love and I want to work at a company that's really supportive. So first of all, like being in the right place and a place that matches your vibe is so important. Like cannot overstress that one enough. So the more that you realize what's important to you, who you are, and what you want reflected in the people around you, the easier it is going to be for you to find that. Second is like with the personal brand, I did figure out, like I call it your unique awesomeness quotient. It's basically like your unique value. What can you offer? And there's a bit of luck involved here as well, right? So when I took on my dream job, it was at a company called Exact Target. It was acquired by Salesforce on my 1-year anniversary. And I was in a function that was totally new and it was an unproven P&L. So I had an opportunity to say, this is something that could actually work and work really well and be really profitable. And it ended up being. So I was able to set a model that we were able to scale globally. So that's something that is going to raise your visibility, not just with your boss, but with your boss's boss. So the thing that any company cares about, unless it's a not-for-profit, and even then, I still think they care about it, is revenue and profitability. So obviously, if it's a nonprofit, profitability, not so much, but the revenue still matters because you need those dollars coming in to turn them around and do good things with them on the other side, right? And obviously in a business is a business to make money. So what's something that you can do to decrease costs or increase revenue? And because that's going to be a buffer for profitability. So that was something that I was very aware of. The other thing that helped, or there was a couple of other things that helped. One, there was a big training hole. So the company I work for had a proprietary scripting language to use in their software, but no one knew how to train on it because none of the trainers were technical, either in the custom training world where I was or in the standard training in the academy. So in my downtime, had learned a little bit of JavaScript. I'm not a coder, but I can like bump around and do a few things. But that actually let me learn how to do that. And I could turn around and start training clients. And this was something, because it was a gap, it got me spots at our user conference once a year, running sessions for like 400 people that were like the top reviewed sessions. So this was another thing. Then I think the most crucial thing was I had the great fortune of having leadership who acknowledged my potential. So my dotted line and then eventually solid line manager, his name is Troy. He's the best manager that I've had in my life. He's the only person that I would go back to corporate to work for. So Troy, if you happen to be listening, hello, thank you so much. He was really, really helpful. And he helped to kind of like, in a lot of ways we were similar, but in a lot of ways we were very different in our approaches. And he helped me to kind of like become a more polished professional as well. So this was something that was very helpful. Also, one of the senior leaders in the organization, Danielle, she saw something in me and she was really a great sponsor for me. So when she came across my work, she would share it across the executive team and really, really, really help to elevate my profile. Like she saw something that she believed in me, like she believed in me for some reason. And I mean, this started with me seeing something in myself. And she really amplified it and opened up so many doors for me to grow. And then after acquisition, I had gotten to a point where like I got to take on so many like huge projects with like massive scope impact in a company like Salesforce. When I moved to the startup world, it was at the executive level. And that was also, a matter of negotiation as well. Yeah. Always important when you're job searching is knowing that where you're at now doesn't necessarily define where you're going to be next. And if you are ready for that next step, then that is going to be something that if it's the right opportunity and you're bringing the right skills, they're going to be appraised appropriately.
I love that. I'm going to quickly summarize it. There were so many golden nuggets in here, like just to listen to the story. If you guys want to type this out, it'd be really helpful as well. Is one I heard is one, you got to first start to value yourself. Right? You got to first start to value yourself in terms of seeing your own value and what your formula is, like your UAQ, unique awesomeness quotient, right? So I think that's great. Like really knowing what the value, like one thing I say a lot, like I just posted this week, is first you got to recognize your value and then believe in your value and convey your value. right?
Yeah.
Or voice your value. Because if you don't first recognize it and believe it, it's really hard for you to voice your value effectively or negotiate what you want. So I think that's a key one. The next one I'm hearing is, I felt like you really, I'm talking about this a lot right now, is the extra mile, like going above and beyond in terms of demonstrating your potential, right? To being awesome, doing great work so that people around you see the potential in you. So the extra mile above and beyond is really important there.
Yeah.
And then lastly, what I'm hearing is having great mentors, so great people around you, like great bosses, great advocates. That is key. Like people who can champion you and advocate for you.
Yeah.
So key there. So thank you for sharing that story. And I'm curious to hear from you guys as well. Like, throughout your career journey, like, have you, had someone in your life, who really championed your career to help you move forward, or people who referred you or endorse you to help you move forward there? Hi. Oh, that's such a great story. Thank you for sharing that. So just to wrap up this part here, for those who are looking to move into like tech sales or customer success, what advice do you have for them to move into this space?
So I think, especially in customer success is still a young profession. Like it's not really even 10 years old at scale. So it's really new, and there's a huge amount of potential there. So if anyone is interested in that, there's a bunch of great people on LinkedIn to follow. So if anyone does want recommendations, like feel free to just like drop a message, and I'll put in some recommendations after our chat. But I think the most important thing to do, especially if that's not where you're at yet, or even if you're in tech, but you're like, I'm more interested in sales, I'm more interested in marketing, I'm more interested in customer success, find what are the key deliverables in those roles. So relationship building, negotiation, collaboration. These are things that are really important. And find the stories of how you're already doing those things right now. Because then essentially, like, you don't want to be like, oh yeah, I'm already doing that exact job. But when you find the mirrors of how what you're doing is so similar, it's going to make it easy for you to market yourself into that role. Because other people aren't going to connect the dots for you. Don't leave it up to them, because let's face it, people are pretty lazy and they don't know you as well as you know yourself, right? So be ready to connect those dots. And then I also think, like, especially if you are transitioning, we're like, oh, but like I'm not doing this and then I'm at a disadvantage. No, you're at a huge advantage, because you, my friend, are bringing in a different perspective. So think about the ways that the role that you're doing now, even if it's not exactly the same, is actually going to make you better at that next role. So when I moved from sales into training, it was that training is effectively sales. Sales is effectively training. And
you had to convince that too. You had to convey that people can see that, right?
Totally. And like, I think for my organization that I moved from sales to training to was that they wanted upsells from the training. They knew that could be a byproduct, and they wanted someone to be able to do that. And when I moved from training into customer success, and that was at the executive level move, it was like, well, customer success is really just training, but it's over the long term, throw in a dash of marketing. And I work with marketers on a daily basis at that point. And so it's like, okay, but what you're actually getting is an expert at this, and that's what you actually really need. And this also comes to the clarity. So whether you are interviewing for a role, you're in a role and you really want to stand out, figure out what that company really needs. Like, what do they really need? What's the best solution to the problem that they have? And why do you uniquely, I call this the vector of the company needs to your UAQ. You meet them right there in the middle, magic happens.
I love that. That's great to hear that. Something I haven't shared, like, as you were talking about this. So the learning here, guys, is connect the dots. Hashtag connect the dots. Right?
Oh my God. Yeah. You say it so eloquently.
I summarize it. It's about connecting the dots, right? And I think about customer success, it's still booming. Like, I see this as a lot as a former recruiter as well. Yeah. And I think about, like, even people who have traditionally been, let's say, in hospitality or customer service type roles, sales roles, you can definitely pivot into customer success. I mean, obviously you got to learn more about the technology and all that, but there's a lot of transferable skills in terms of relationship management, delivering great customer experience. All those things are related. It's all about how you tell the story that makes sense. And I want to tell a quick story, because you just reminded me a quick story as you were talking about this. Was when I was leaving Google. This was over 10 years ago now. And I was debating what's next, right? Do I continue my own business full time, or do I go into a role? And my dream company at that time was LinkedIn. If I'm going to leave Google, I want to join LinkedIn. And I went through an interview process for a sales role, relationship manager role. And my background traditionally is recruiting, consulting, marketing. They're like, you don't have a traditional sales background. How can you be successful in sales? And I made it to the final round to meet the country director. And I know the recruiter told me, like, you're going to get grilled the fact that you don't have this sales quota or been in like tech sales. You need to come up with a great answer to pitch why you'd be a great relationship manager. So here's what I did. Like you did, like connecting the dots of how recruitment is similar to sales or relationship management. I talked about, instead of saying I recruited over 100 people to the executive MBA program, I talked about how I generated over $10 million for the school. And then I talked about how at Google as a recruiter, how I learned the product. I was the user. I was using LinkedIn every single day. Yeah. So I would understand the customers that I would be selling to. And that was just what it took to really connect the dots for them to see it. They're like, okay, you could be a salesperson. And I did get the job offer, but then I ended up deciding to continue my business because that was where my heart was. But this is what I teach now to clients, where it's like, how do you really connect the dots there in the technique there? Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. There was a question I forgot somewhere. Someone mentioned, how do you prove, how can you show decreasing cost and increasing profitability when your job does not include those factors?
So I think I need a little bit more information to give a really specific answer, but one thing that I encourage you to do is to try to triangulate it. So it might not always be in terms of actual dollars. Maybe you're talking in terms of percentage of time to do something or team capacity, because these all end up being bottom line impacts. So just try to find out, like, the thing that you're really trying to do with that is you're trying to make it into a number. Numbers jump out on resumes, they jump out on LinkedIn. They're like easy little sound bites that stand out and people are going to remember. So whenever you can quantify something or kind of by proxy quantify something, find a way to do so. And, there are obviously career coaches who can help you do that if it's a really big struggle. But also the other thing that can help you get ideas is surf LinkedIn and check out people that do what you do and how they are actually presenting their accomplishments, because they might do this and give you an idea of how you can do something similar or the same as what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great advice. And probably what I'm hearing is like conducting research, right? Doing a little bit more research to help you there. Awesome. So let's move into our next segment here, which is the core of your talk on how not to ghost your goals and make your dreams come true. So I know that you describe yourself or that you were a self-described goal nerd. Were you always like that?
I would say yes and no. So I'm someone that is naturally very internally motivated, which I'll talk about a little bit more because we tend to be either internally or externally. So there's always been things that I've been working towards. Like I grew up, playing competitive sports. So there was always goals that I was getting in terms of like the number of pitches that I had and the speed that I had. Like they were never academic goals, which is like, probably not the best thing to brag about. But there was always things that I wanted to do from a very young age. And when I got into university and I got serious about my studies, then it carried there. And obviously it came into my career. I honestly, early in my career, was not so serious about setting goals, because goals, and like, you guys tell me in the comments if this has been your experience. You work at a company, you have annual goal setting, you set 5 goals, you talk about them with your manager. Maybe your manager just gives you 5 goals and you get to pick one or something like that. And then a year goes by and you come back and you laugh about how ridiculously irrelevant all of those goals were. That is the typical like career goal setting process. And like 90% of people that I speak with, that is the process that they go through. So it is a structural issue where we're like, okay, we should set goals because we're supposed to, but are we setting the right goals? Are we setting relevant goals and things like that? And the pivotal moment for me was actually like back at that first dream job that I got in New York. And the person who really sponsored me, Danielle, she had just like this like amazing, like she's like the president at Oh my gosh, the company name is completely escaped me right now. Like one of the ticket reselling sites. Total brain fart. Oh my gosh. So embarrassing. Danielle, I'm sorry if you see this. Because I'm really talking about how awesome she is. And she, like, I asked her for advice and she was like, have a vision of what you want your career to be. And like your decisions need to go through that filter. So it really is about having that long-term goal setting of like, who do I want to be in 5 years? And not necessarily just career-wise. And it doesn't have to be overly specific. Like I'm the VP at this company doing this exact thing, but like, what level do you want to be at? What do you want your life to look like? How do you want to feel in 5 years? And how can you actually get there? So then you can start to back things up. So begin with the end in mind. Huge fan of the 7 principles of highly effective people. I basically should just sell their book for a living because I talk about it so much. But that was the moment for me. And that was at the same time that like my career trajectory started going really up because I got serious and I was like, what do I actually want to do? What impact do I actually want to have? And why do I want to have that impact? Because I was not a corporate climber to be a corporate climber. I was a corporate climber to smash ceilings because I wanted other people to not have a struggle. And when you get clear about things like that, it makes it a lot easier to follow through.
Wow, I love that. So I'm hearing knowing your vision of your career. I love that. I'm big on that. I'm big on vision, and it ties into knowing your why as well, like your purpose. Like for you, the reason why you did it, you said like it's smashing needling so that you want to make it possible for others as well. Right. Yeah. I love that. I love the begin with an end in mind. That was one of the first books I read back when I was a teenager. When I first moved to Canada, was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. That was a game changer for me as well, where I wrote my mission statement in life.
This is why we get along.
Same way. And then since then, I started reading a lot of self-help books. So I love that. I love that. And it's all about getting intentional here. So what are the common mistakes people make with goal setting?
I think the mistake that I see most often is that people are setting goals they don't really want to achieve. They're setting goals to get a promotion that they don't want, to get a job that they don't want. So I think it starts with that clarity of like, take that lens, take that vision. And if you don't have that vision totally fleshed out, get a basic idea and then use that to weigh for if you are setting a goal. Like I know that I saw several comments, like, I want to get a job. Okay, this is like, I'm not arguing. You want that because most people want a job because they need an income. And it's, even if they don't need an income, just sitting around maybe is really boring. I don't know. But okay, but let's think about this a little bit more. So if you want a job, what job do you actually want? And are you going after the job that you think makes sense? Or are you going after the job that you're going to be really excited to sign the offer on? Because this is going to impact your energy and really the steps that you take into actually getting that job.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Or is that a little too woo-woo?
No, well, basically but I think this is where there's the fear comes in, right? Yeah. Of, going after a job that makes sense versus going to a job that you want, right? So how do you deal with that? Because naturally, and I've seen this, right? I've worked with a lot of people who 20-year career, or those I've seen here, like, oh, I'm in my 50s. It's so hard. And as well, like, how do you really bridge that? Or, right, I have a client right now who 20 years in sales and realized he really no longer want to be a hunter anymore, but he may be interested in becoming like in the customer success or relationship manager, but just has never dawned on him. And how do you really make that change? Right.
Right.
So I feel like people settle, to settle, just because this is all I can offer. Therefore I'm settling for that there.
Yeah. And there are definitely like, I've had people that I've chatted with and they're like, should I take this job? Should I do this? Like I need in like cash. Yeah, then you should. Like I would be lying and completely detached from reality to say that finances have nothing to do with this. But if you are in an active search, or if you're just not happy in the job that you're in and you feel like you want to make that change, fear comes into play. Change is scary, even when you really want the change. Like the way that I think about it is like, in an action movie and it's like Tom Cruise and he's like jumping in between the two different buildings. And there's that point before you jump off of that one building, like you're running up to the edge and you're like, I totally got this. I can do this. And your feet are at the edge now. You're like, holy ish, what the F am I doing? right? And you're like, I can't make it. I'm going to fall. Like, I'm going to go splat on the ground. It's going to be very messy and embarrassing. And that is like any decision in our life, maybe not with the same caliber of risk, but it really does feel that way. And I think that there's a couple of things to keep in mind. So first of all, the fear is a totally natural response. And just because you're scared doesn't mean that you shouldn't do something. All it means is that your amygdala is kicking into play. Your subconscious is trying to keep you safe. What your subconscious doesn't differentiate is the saber-toothed tiger to taking a different role and maybe facing a little bit of rejection along the way. It does not know the difference. And when your amygdala is activated, your rational brain literally cannot work. Like, it actually deactivates your logic center. So this is a normal reaction. The other thing that I think is very, very interesting is from a neurochemical perspective, fear and excitement release the same chemicals. The same things are happening in your brain. What differentiates fear from excitement in many ways, especially when you're thinking sustained fear, anxiety, and stuff like that, is the story you tell yourself. So can you reframe that of like, I'm scared and I don't feel safe and I might fail, to I'm excited and I'm really going to try to do this.
I love that, fear versus excitement. I actually heard on the New Year's Day, there's a study actually, shown by Harvard, is that when you are nervous, right, or you have this anxiety, like when you're about to go for an interview, let's just say, or you meet someone that that you feel like someone really important, you have this anxiety and nerve. They said, to get over that, a very simple exercise, and I said this last week here, is just say the words like, I am excited.
Yes.
I am excited. And it tricks your brain.
Yes.
They can't tell the difference. It tricks your brain so that you show up excited. And this is why, like, when I go on live and do talks and all that, I do say I am excited. Like, I am truly excited. But if you feel you have this fear or anxiety, trick yourself into getting like, I am excited. And this is why a lot of, these big speakers like Tony Robbins, before they go on a stage, like they pump themselves up. He jumps on like a trampoline. Totally.
Like, and you see this, like, if you watch like bands backstage, like everyone has like that pregame ritual. And like, do you need a pregame ritual before you like hop onto LinkedIn or start updating your resume or before you go into a big meeting? And even things like power posing. Like, I know it's weird to stand there for like 2 minutes, like, like, don't do it in the middle of the office when you're actually in an office because people are going to question you. But you can go to the bathroom or go somewhere quiet. Like, it's actually nice when we are, like, so many of us are working from home and interviews are being done remotely for the most part, because we can do all of those weird things and like have zero risk of people seeing us.
For sure. Hashtag pregame ritual. I love that. You just reminded me, there's been studies shown too, right? Of like how athletes, right, that they do the visualization exercise. Visualization, they actually visualize that they've gone through the entire game and how they win and all that. And that's 100%. Huge, right? Yeah. So you want to do that. And even for me, when I do talks, like I actually go through this whole visualizations where I picture how I feel, how my audience are and all that. Just so that you get into that you can already feel like you've already done it, that you've completed it already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I love this. Is this resonating, guys? Let's see what are the comments here. Yeah. I think people had confused with some of the terms, right? Dopamine. Sorry. Maybe you need to describe that, just be clear what that means for people.
So dopamine is actually, it's like the happy drug that releases in your brain. Yep. And it actually, like, it is something that does come into play with excitement, but you can actually find ways to trigger that yourself. Like, getting a like on LinkedIn is actually a dopamine hit. It's why a lot of people are addicted to their phones at this point, is because, there's easy ways to deal dopamine. I could like go on that forever. Actually, I have a LinkedIn video about it coming out next week. So if you want to be your own dopamine dealer, like follow me and get some tips next week.
Yeah, you got some good one. But this is a big one. I think, what holds people, a lot of it is the fear, right? That holds us back. And a question I like to ask is like, what's the worst case, right? What's the worst case that could happen? Right. Yeah. And you actually go through that exercise of like the worst case scenario that you probably feel like, oh, it's not too bad at the end of the day there. Right.
I recently read, I can't remember the name of the book, but it was a book about worry. And it said one of the things that you can do when you worry is actually go into the worst case scenario. So like, okay, let's say that you try to reposition yourself and you want to make that jump from customer success to sales. That's your goal. So now there's I do believe in SMART goal setting. So, okay, like, is it specific? Is it measurable? Yes, it's specific. You know exactly what you want to do. Is it measurable? Yes, you either get that job or you don't. Pretty straightforward. Is it attainable? Yes, it's attainable. Is it relevant? Yes. Is it time bound? Give yourself a scope of time, especially because if you do have a finite number of resources, like most of us do, okay, I'm going to give it 6 months. And I'm fully going to invest into making this transition in my career because it is what I really want. Back channel, you can still like put those feelers out for sales positions and stuff like that to get some things lined up. But think about it that way. Now, I totally lost what my actual point was there. This is what happens when I don't talk fast enough.
So you talked about doing the worst case.
So worst case scenario, you get 6 months and you don't get a job offer. In customer success, you can still go in and get a job in sales. And it's not going to take you a huge amount of time because you have the experience, you have the network, you have all of those things. You're going to be successful in that move. Sales to CS is something that is pretty straightforward. And I know a lot of people that transition between the two.
Yeah.
Like, is it totally simple and you just like wave a magic wand? No, you still have to have the stories and all of that kind of stuff. But it is something that is achievable. But give yourself that. Worst case scenario, it doesn't happen. Now, I know that one of the things that like when I talk to people and they're going through those transitions or they just like want to make a big declaration is, okay, but if I rebrand myself on LinkedIn, people are going to judge me. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole other thing because so much of it, a lot of the fear that we have isn't fear for ourselves. It's a fear of how others are going to perceive us. And what if you don't make that change? Are people going to judge you? And on one hand, no, because people are in general very compassionate and caring and supportive, and you will be amazed at how much help you will get when you are public about wanting to make that change or rebranding yourself. And on the other hand, we are all vain creatures that really care about ourselves more than anyone else. Yeah. And any judgment that someone does make towards you actually has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them judging themselves through their judgment of you.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear from you guys, like, what are maybe some of the fears that you have in terms of going after what you really want? Like, what are those fears? Let's put it down in here. Like, let's release it as well. So I love this, that we're talking about this. So let's move on into the next question here, which is, should people still set goals in an unpredictable world? How far should they be thinking?
I still think goals are really important. There's a couple of things that I am suggesting for people to do with their goals. And it's something that I've done for myself. And I basically have to constantly remind myself on a daily basis. One, I think that the pandemic is a time warp. Like, time does weird, slow, fast things. And especially like me and Diana, like we have kids. So we're like homeschooling and all of this stuff. And your amount of time that you have and the amount of energy that you have isn't going to be totally predictable. There is so much outside of your control right now. So do take that into consideration. And with that, what I encourage you to do is to look at the list of things that you want to do and say, okay, like, what do I actually want to do right now? And what can I put into the parking lot? What can wait? That's one big thing. And then I think the other thing that we need to be reasonable on is timelines. Because when we set our big, hairy, audacious goals, it's like, I'm going to get a job in the next month. Reality is that might take 3 to 6 months. That's okay. Set those appropriate timelines and give yourself, like, I like to work in even a buffer. So make it be like, okay, I think I can do this in 6 months, but I want to accomplish it in 9. Because when things go sideways and you don't have the bandwidth or all the stuff that outside of your control happens, then you still have time to meet that goal without beating yourself up about it.
Yeah. I have to say, like, what I've learned about myself is I act pretty quickly. If I come with something, I want to do it. And I realize I often underestimate the amount of time it takes to do something.
Oh my gosh.
I always underestimate it. But I like what you said, like having a buffer as well. So even just having buffer, like even in my own calendar right now, I have buffer days as well. Like if I need to do last minute scheduling with clients or last minute, whatever I need to do as well, I always have like a buffer day there.
So before, like meltdown of the world. We'll just call it that. I used to have like my 3 things each and every day. So every day at the top of my planner, okay, what are my top 3 things? I'm going to get those things done. Now it's like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And even when my kids are in school and all of that, like there's so much going on. And I think that we really underestimate what the stress of the situation and isolation and worry and concern really does to us and our energy levels. And the more that you can manage your energy, I think especially if you are in a point where you're in a job search or trying to get a promotion, energy management is really, really key. Because if you don't manage your energy, you will burn yourself out really, really quickly.
Oh, hashtag energy management is so key. I have to tell you, like I optimized my schedule every 3 months last year. Whenever I saw a dip in my energy level, I would take a bit of time off and then I would look at my calendar. I'm like, what do I want to change?
Yeah, I love that.
Optimizing my schedule every quarter.
So this is the first year that I have not set annual goals. I set goals for the first half of the year. I have a general idea of what I want to do later this year, but we don't know what it's going to look like. So I'm not going to try to predict the future.
Mhm.
I'm not an oracle, no matter how many times I try to read tarot cards. I'm just not good at it. So I focused on this half of the year, and the most concrete things were actually just within this quarter, because really that's what I can see somewhat predictably.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love that you like are actually taking that time to like recalibrate on a regular basis, and I'm totally going to steal that from you.
Oh, it's been a game changer. Just optimizing. It could just be my minor tweaks, but as simple as, for example, like I pushed my client meetings just by half an hour so that I can get a 20-minute workout beforehand.
Oh,
That's been a game changer. So that right. And so I just push it up by half an hour, but then I end my day half an hour later as well. But then just by putting myself first, like filling my own cup, I'm a better coach as well. Like I can be more energetic. So that's just things like that can make a huge difference there. It's key. Hashtag energy management, guys. That is so key. I think it's true because it in this unpredictable world, you know, with all the news and everything, it impacts our thoughts and our feelings, which impacts our energy as well. And so we have to keep that in check there, right? And what I'm hearing right now is like, and it's also just having like more focus on what you control in terms of having these more like bite-sized or quarterly goals, right? Quarterly goals, monthly goals, just break it down there as well so that it feels it's more manageable. And I love that. Absolutely. And this is so key, that it's not to be so hard on yourself.
Yes.
A big lesson I learned, this was actually pre-pandemic, I would say for me, was when I became a mom. When I became a mom, pre-mom, I was always like, I want to do this. I want to launch this book. I want to launch these courses. I did all that before kids. And then once I had the kids, I was like, shoot, I can't do all this. Yes. I'm like, I can do one big thing or one thing this quarter. And so
take a shrinking gun.
I'd reset my expectations and just not be so hard on myself.
Totally. No, like, there's that like the 90s movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like this year is about Honey, I Shrunk My Goals. Work with that. Break them up and make them small, make them containable. Because you know what? I think especially because of everything going on right now, and like, I know I'm like a happy, positive person, but like, let's be real. Right now, everyone is sitting in trauma. There is a global pandemic, and everyone, even if you haven't known anyone to get sick or lost anyone, we're still like the way that we live our lives has completely changed. And that is a heavy trauma that I think I'm nervous to see what happens on the other side when we get out of it and look back and we're like, oh my gosh, like that was real. When you are in it though, when you can set goals that you know you can hit, they're in your control, you know they're achievable. They might feel small. You can overachieve those, but if you know that you can hit it and you hit it, you're going to feel good. And that's going to help you build momentum. When you overachieve it, you're going to feel even better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a question from Anna here is, where should you list goals to be feasible? Notebook, Post-it, spreadsheet? What do you suggest?
Wherever really resonates with you. So I'm someone like, I'm a big planner nerd. So I keep all of my goals in a planner. I'm trying to convert it into like a vision board because I like the idea of having like this creative visual that I can see. It's not the thing that resonates the most with me though. I'm a very like text-based person. I like lists. But if you are that visual person, then like, go into like Canva and make a vision board or go through a magazine if anyone still has paper magazines, like, or just go and buy one to like make that board. I also am a person who works in spreadsheets. So in terms of like actual metrics and monitoring, I do spreadsheets, I do Asana. Like, I feel like it's just like find the thing that works for you and test things out to see what does work for you as well. Because like having a planner and weekly checklists and daily checklists and hourly checklists work really well for me. They don't work for everyone. Yeah. It's like, it is a really personal thing. So like test the waters and see what really jives with you.
Yeah. Do what works for you. My new thing this year, because I like to do a lot of journaling, but this year you probably saw my my LinkedIn. I did a big board where I just post all my goals that I can see right here, like a big board here of all my goals and my milestones to make it visible. So every time I walk into the office, I see it there. So
I mean, like even like the phone background again, so you can have your work cloud, you can have like your top goals. Yeah. What are you working on in the next few months? And just like keep it there. Because again, I think that those little impressions really can make a really big difference.
That's true. Using the phone there. Absolutely. So how can you be intentional if you aren't an avid planner? And I'm curious to hear from the audience. Any of you who are not, you know, avid planners, that you just like to go with the flow, be spontaneous, you know, just type that in, like that you know, hashtag flow or hashtag spontaneous. I want to hear from you. Like, how can you really be intentional if you aren't a planner?
I mean, boring. Give yourself time to just be in flow. And this is something I'm personally learning as like a hyper scheduled person, but also as someone who is a creative that needs to just like, I need to do my thing when I want to do my thing. And like, for me, it's a balance of the two. If you're an avid planner, it's easy. Like I set my 3-month goals, I put it into my monthly, I break it into my weekly. Like it's super duper easy to map it that way. But if that doesn't work for you, and if you're just like, oh my gosh, I want to vomit at the thought of making a list, you can still be intentional about what you're doing. What you want to ask yourself when you're undertaking any task, and like maybe like put a reminder on your phone for it to pop up a few times a day. And what I'm doing right now, getting me closer to this, and make like this is your goal. So like if it's getting a job, if it's getting a promotion, if it's building your personal brand, is what I am doing right now getting me closer or further?
Oh, I love that question.
Because it's one or the other. You're either like getting towards it, and even if you're not getting towards it, you're still getting a little bit farther because time is not as infinite as we would like it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, that's a good question to ask. Like, I remember moving closer or further with what I'm doing, and it doesn't align, right? Or are these activities just more like a distraction there, right?
Yeah, and I love doing like reminders. Like I have my like little Fitbit watch too, so I have things that pop up. I even do that because like I find it helpful, and like even with other things like, you know, being like mindfulness and meditation and drinking water. Like I have a million reminders that go off. But if you are someone who much more wants to be in flow, and you know that that's not going to be something that you're intentionally holding, find a way to augment it so that you are getting those little nudges, because you can still have both. And then, I mean, like, I still think that there is like, even if you're not a planner, at some point you are going to think about the structure of your day. What am I doing today? And it doesn't need to be a list. It doesn't have to be like time blocking your calendar, but think of, okay, what can I do this week that is going to get me closer? And do I feel like doing that thing today?
Yeah. Yeah. And it could just be also blocking off like a free flow day.
Yeah.
Right. Just having a self-care day where you do nothing. Because that's where you can also get inspiration as well. Like,
I'm such a fan of breaks.
Yeah. I love having breaks. Pre-pandemic, I used to schedule in my calendar that once a month I would go for a massage, and I would go for a facial once a month as well. That's awesome. My self-care day, because I knew that if I did that, I would feel better and I'd be a better mom as well. And so I would schedule that for myself there. So now, you know, it's different. Like, you know, I'll do it, you know, at home here, like, you know, some self-care activities.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So how can people set slayable goals? We addressed a bit of this, but I love this question. Slayable goals.
Slayable goals. I mean, like, we all want to have slayable goals. So we already talked about like I'm not going to wane on about SMART goals, because if you just put SMART goals to Google, there's going to be about 36 billion results that are going to get you exactly what SMART goals and how to set them. But I do like that structure in general, because it is going to have some checks and balances that are really built into it. The second thing, and again, we've talked about this already as well, is when you're setting that goal, set the goal first. Then I want you to think about, is there a way I can make this smaller? And there's 2 steps to this. So first of all, for the time that you have, is it going to be achievable? Have you worked in those buffers so you can have your breaks, that things went sideways time? Is it still going to be achievable? Because what you don't want is to set up something and you're like, oh, whoa, I was way too ambitious with the amount of time that I had. Or, I just didn't anticipate this thing happening. So find a way, if you can downsize that a little bit, to give yourself some wiggle room, knowing again you can still overachieve, but making sure it's something that you can hit. The other thing that I love doing right now is also breaking those things into mini goals. So instead of having a big thing that you're doing 6 months from now, what is something that you're doing every week that is getting you towards there? So for example, if you are trying to get a job, your goal in 6 months is to have your dream job. What are the daily things that you should be doing, or the weekly things that you should be doing in order to get that? Is it meeting 2 new people a day on LinkedIn? Is it reviewing your resume once a week to see if there's any other way to make it better? Is it reading things in your industry? Is it making a post on LinkedIn a few times a week? What are you going to do to get yourself there? And set that goal every week or every day so that you're getting those wins along the way. Having those mini goals is actually going to help you keep momentum to get to that big goal. And as long as you've found the right activities to get you to the outcome, it's going to increase your likelihood of success, right? Does that make sense so far? We talked about the time warp. And then again, I think the most important thing that you need to do is this goal that I'm setting the goal that I really want? And why do I want it? For example, we were talking about personal brand, and it's great to get a job or a promotion or just raise your visibility at work. But maybe that didn't resonate for you. Maybe you're like, you know what? Still not really interested. But what if you were building a brand so that you can meet more awesome people that do the things that you do, that you can have conversations about that with? Or that you can learn on a daily basis by posting and having conversations, or just joining the conversations that are already happening. Find a reason for you that is personal to you. It doesn't have to be the obvious. It doesn't have to be to make money. It doesn't have to be for all of those kind of reasons that don't necessarily resonate. And I think that goes into the, am I an internally motivated person or an externally? Because if you're externally, it's going to be the job title, it's going to be the paycheck, it's going to be the status. And that's totally I'm no judgment towards that stuff, because that stuff is all really nice to have. Or are you internal? So for me, my goal of advancing was, those things were nice, and I'm never going to complain about having those things, but it was really okay, I can actually make a difference by doing this. And that was my motivation. So figure out what is going to keep you on track, because Diana also pointed out at the beginning, knowing that why do you actually want this to happen? Because it's going to be hard, especially when you have big goals. Those things are hard AF. And when you're on that edge of the building about to jump, why are you going to jump no matter, even if you're scared,
Yeah, I love it. All right. So we're going to be wrapping up soon here. If you have any questions, let us know as well. But what I'm hearing from here, let's definitely break it down into mini goals. And the other important thing here is setting that commitment to yourself. What are these core habits that you want to do to set yourself up for success? It's your own commitment to yourself. No one else is telling you to do this, but it's something that you're committed to, that knowing this is going to get you closer to where you want to be. Okay. And not settling. So I'll give it a quick example and story. I had a client that I started working with last year in October. Once we started, she actually got a job offer, but it was not her ideal job offer. But she's already been unemployed for over 6 months, and she decided to take it. And I was like, that's okay. It's your bridge job, right? Right now, let's say, that you can take. But during this time, she's been really busy in her bridge job. She's also been working towards these goals of practicing her interview messages, revamping her resume, optimizing her LinkedIn profile, doing things that are hard. And yesterday, she crushed her interview and got the offer today. And to me, it's doing these hard things, even though you have this whatever job you don't enjoy, you got kids who are need you as well, but you're staying up to do what it takes so
Yeah,
that when the time comes, you're ready to crush it.
absolutely.
That's your own commitment. No one's telling you to do it.
Yeah. No, and hard things are hard. Like, I wish that there was a way to make things, even when things are simple, they're not easy. And if getting your dream job or climbing to the top of the corporate ladder or starting your own business, no matter what your goal is, or building your brand, if those things were easy, every single person will have done it. And
Yeah.
when you know why you want it and you really, really do want it, and like if you don't want those things, that's fine. It's
Yeah.
totally fine to not want those things. But it is going to be challenging, and you need to make sure that you know how to keep yourself motivated to get through it. And that grit is going to have huge payoffs, no matter what the goal is and no matter what the obstacle is.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, another question here is that if someone could only do one thing to increase their chances of success, what would it be? What's your best advice for them?
Just commit to taking action. You're not always going to want, you do not always feel like it. Like, I'm a runner. I don't always feel like running. Sometimes it's raining and I really don't want to go outside. And sometimes running is really hard and I don't feel good, or I'm tired, or I would rather stay inside and drink coffee. Just go and do it anyways. Finding
Yeah.
like updating your resume, I'm sorry, how many people other than career coaches are going to wake up on a daily basis and be like, I can't wait to update my resume? You might have the odd day, but that's not going to be your daily existence. So do know that the thing is, like, I feel like there's this misconception about motivation of like, you're always going to feel like it, or you need to feel like it to do it. The trick is once you do the thing, you're going to feel like doing it. Like, when I get my running shoes on, there's no way I'm taking them off unless I get out for a run. If I decide to do spinning, I clip myself into the bike and I can sit there for 10 minutes. I'm not getting off the bike until I have done that. When I sit down to make a post on LinkedIn, I'm not going to close out my browser until I've made that post or made the comment or sent the message that I want to do. So just find that first action and be like, I'm just going to do this first, and set the stage for you to take the action. Because it is the actions, especially when you don't feel like doing them, that are really going to get you to that goal.
Oh, I love that. Commit to taking action. I like to say hashtag massive action. Take massive action. And I want to acknowledge you guys, for those who are here with us, like for showing up. Like you said, like someone just posted, this is why we're here to push ourselves and find out how. Right. And this is part of it, you know, surrounding yourself with people and also attending sessions like this to help you get that motivation, that, you know, aha, so like to take that next step. Right. So I'm curious to hear from you guys. What's your biggest takeaway? You know, I think Jennifer covered a lot of nuggets today. I want to hear from you. Like, what are some of those key takeaways or your key actions that you're going to take? And, you know, we can open the floor up for some questions as well. But I think I see, you know, people were just been like chatting, you know, as we were chatting as well. I see a lot of these comments as well there. And I see if there's any questions.
As questions come in, I have one bonus, and this is something that I've been researching lately about goals, because one of the things that we always have is like, you know, if you have a goal, share it and have it be accountable. And one thing because I know that some of you here are going to have really big goals. You want to change your career, you want to get a promotion, and people aren't going to believe in you. When you're sharing your goals, so some goals, sharing it and having accountability is going to help you succeed. But sometimes when you share a goal, you adopt the identity just enough that it actually decreases your likelihood of success. And the other thing that comes into play is, I feel like, especially when you have one of those really big goals that really scares you, other people in your life might not be supportive of it. They want to keep you safe. They don't want you to fail. So they might try to convince you otherwise. So if you do have one of those really big goals, like shifting your career or getting a big promotion, be selective in who you tell. And it's not because you need to keep it a secret or anything like that. It's just, you want to make sure that when you're sharing that goal, it is going to be with someone that helps you succeed, and that sharing it is going to be something that helps keep you on track.
Yeah. I love that. I love hearing that. Oh, I love this. This is so good. All right. So a lot of thank yous coming in. Finding like-minded friends. I think that's so key, right? Finding
Yes. Oh my
like-minded
gosh.
people to persevere. I think that is key. You know, Robert just
Hang with
mentioned
people that raise your vibe.
yeah, hang with people that raise your vibe. I've been talking about this lately is you know, because I've been my new thing right now is my echelon bike, you know, and I just love the energy and motivation. Like the instructor has so much motivation and power to like, you matter. You have so much power. And it just makes me feel so good. Right.
Yeah.
And when you surround yourself with people like that, or, you know, it just makes you, it raises that vibrational energy there.
Oh my gosh, a good inspirational spinning class. Like I do them in the morning just because like when you have a really great instructor that is telling you the right things, you like get off that bike, you're like, I can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do anything, right? Like, I really want to hear from you guys. Like, what's something that you plan on doing? Like, now that you've heard this session, like, what's something that you're going to take action on,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
even if you're not sharing your goal, like what's the next action that you can take?
What's the next action? Yeah, I just talked about this last week, right? Like, what's the next best thing? You know, the Frozen song from Frozen 2. It's like, what's the next best thing that you can do as you are, like you said, moving closer to where you want to be or who you want to become?
Yeah.
What's that next best step that you can take? Like, whenever you feel you're not sure, just ask that question.
Yeah.
All right. That is so key there, right? Especially now that we're in this, it is an unpredictable world, but there are things that we can do to feel that we have a bit of that, you know, in our own like certainty or control there, right?
Yeah.
Accountability buddy, get one if you don't already have one. Yeah, that's a good one.
The difference. I love what Robert said is believe in you. Because I think this is one of the things that's like, this is the most crucial success driver across your career and in your life. The more you believe in yourself and your abilities and that you're the best person for that job, you're the best person for the project, you can do this in a way. When you believe in yourself that much, it is contagious. People will believe you. It doesn't need to be true for people to believe you. So wield this power appropriately, please. But when you do believe in yourself, other people are going to believe in you. It is a precursor to having that confidence. And when you do have that, again, magic happens, doors swing open, and you will find yourself with opportunities that you would not have been able to dream of if you didn't believe in yourself that much. So if you build anything like, and make it can be logical, like knowing why you're uniquely awesome, knowing what value you bring, having really great stories when you're making a career transition. And the more that you know those and you know why they're so awesome, the more you're going to believe in yourself, and then other people are just going to follow you.
I love that. Anna asked you if you have any workshops coming up. I think we could do a workshop on recognizing your own awesomeness and your own value.
Yes. So I did. I might end up doing another live session this month. Stay tuned on my LinkedIn. So I did a workshop about uncovering your UAQ, and the live it's glitched. So it's not available on demand right now, but I think I'm going to do it live again and then have it for something that like people can just always do. Cause I think it's so crucial. And I think once you know that, like it really lets you go and do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what Peter said here is the takeaway is what I'm doing getting me nearer or further from my goal. Hashtag massive action. That's a great key learning here. I love that. I love that there. Awesome. What else are we seeing here? Any questions? Let's see. Get a job, and even if it's a bridge job, stay motivated to get the job started I actually want. Absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with taking a bridge job, guys. It's totally okay, especially when the pandemic hit last year. A lot of people like took jobs, like even working in the retailers, right? Groceries.
Yeah.
Right?
I've worked with people that were doing, I actually worked with several people that were doing like Instacart. And like that was their bridge because they could do it on their own terms. They didn't have to worry about like scheduling interviews around it and stuff like that. But there was, it was a booming industry because people weren't leaving their houses. So it was able to get like they were getting money that they needed until they found like the position that they actually wanted. Absolutely. And if you take a bridge, you don't have to put it on your resume and stuff like that if it's not totally in alignment with what you want to do. But like money matters.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So Jennifer, where can people find you or learn more about you?
Cool. So Capdeca Solutions is my website. So you can always check me out there. As Diana mentioned, I'm daily videos over on LinkedIn. So if you want to hang with me there, I do try to keep it fun, even when we talk about some big stuff that might be boring or a little bit hard sometimes. So do check me out there. And then I'm also over on YouTube. So youtube.com/JenniferBrick. And I'm posting one video a week there right now. And I have actually like more than 100 for you to go and surf through. And there's a bunch on like goals and prioritization and stuff like that too. So if any of that is helpful, it is there.
You have so many videos, guys. You guys have to check out Jennifer's work. She's doing daily videos on LinkedIn right now as part of the 90-day challenge. And you have over 100 videos I know on YouTube, which is amazing.
Yes.
A lot of great tips. And then you have these bite-sized videos on TikTok.
Yeah, it's I live in front of a camera some days. It explains why my big camera died right before this. Because I've just been abusing it lately.
And you got to find what works for you too, right? And even for me, I prefer the camera as well over like writing. It's easier for me to express
I need
my
you
words.
to join the 90 video challenge.
I don't know if I've got time right now, to be honest. I'm just so busy with my schedule. I'm committing to this weekly, which is good because then I'm committed to this hour and a half versus doing the daily video challenge.
It is hard. But once it's in your schedule, like it becomes a lot easier. I think it's just like anything comes down to like habits and routine because that's your autopilot.
For sure, for sure. Absolutely. Oh, good. This was so good, guys. Thank you so much. We see like Robert here, Michelle, Timothy, so many people I saw. Yeah, Peter, I recognize some names here. Joe, Lisa. Yeah, we saw some career coaches. Ricklin was here. Another speaker was here earlier as well. So that was great. Yeah. Good stuff. Any last minute questions? Otherwise, we'll be ending. But I love this. Like, I think there were so many golden nuggets. If I had to summarize, like you said, massive action, energy management, bite-sized goals, surround yourself with good people, right? These are all like key things there. Like, I think that if we just even take a few of these actions, it can make a huge, huge difference there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, guys. This was so much fun. So next week, we're going to have, I'm going to be talking about my 10-year business journey. I'm going to be coming on live to share with you my 10-year, I'm going to share with you my journey, share with you the highs and lows, lessons learned, how I grew my business. I'm going to talk about some marketing. What was interesting, I would tell you, Jennifer, is I thought most people would be more interested in learning about their journey, but most people are interested in learning more about sales, closing, and selling.
Interesting.
I thought that was really interesting. So I'm flipping in terms of what I'll be focusing on. I was like, I thought people want to hear the story, but people want to learn about marketing and sales.
That's really, I think maybe because like I'm 2 years into the journey and I'm like, oh man, I've had so many lessons. And like, I see you 8 years ahead of me. I'm like, what can I expect in the next 8 years? I just want to know.
You just want to know. Yeah, I'll tell the story, but I think I'm going to focus more on some, I guess, like people want to know more strategies as well. Like, what can I do to grow my business for those who are in their own business? What can I do to close and sell clients? So that a learning for me is to survey your audience. Ask your audience, what do they want to hear from you? Right? If you're developing a talk or speech, just find out from them, like what you think, what they think may be different. So I was off. We're talking like 10% express interest in the journey and like 30 to 40% interest in the marketing and sales aspect. Actually, combined of those, like 60% of it, the audience wanted to learn more about marketing sales. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, well, thank you so much, my dear. This was such a fun, live interview with you. Thank you so much for kicking off the new year with me. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Take care, everyone. I'm going to put some outro music to wrap up here. You take care, guys.